Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this week's episode of The French Way. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about food freedom and tell you a story about the after, which is also what I consider the today, and also the before. And it really dawned on me, first of all, that I probably don't talk enough about my story and how I've overcome a lot of obstacles and challenges that I've had over the years when it comes to food. And it really hit me this weekend. And so I wanted to tell you about my weekend to start off because I think it is a beautiful story on how when we don't have when we're not constantly obsessing about food and not constantly thinking about food, how beautiful actually life is and that we don't always realize it. So let me tell you the story about this past weekend. I had met a woman about a year ago online. We were in a personal development group and we really hit it off. And we'd been going back and forth. We'd talked quite a bit. We'd, Zoomed. We'd met briefly once in Paris. And so she lives in France and she invited me this weekend. She invited my husband and I to come spend the weekend with her and her husband. And so, first of all, so keep in mind, I knew her. I mean, we'd spoken quite often, but I'd never spent any amount of time with her. So it was kind of risky. I thought it was probably kind of risky to say yes to go spending a whole weekend with somebody and her partner who also I'd never met except for, literally like 10 minutes one day. So for me, it was kind of risky. And I'm also bringing my husband. He'd never met her. He'd never met the other husband or the husband. So it was it was kind of a risky, uncomfortable situation, or it could have been. But we decided to go because this woman and I, we just get along so well together that I thought it was going to be fantastic. So we arrive on Friday evening. It's about a 4-hour drive from Paris. And we arrive and uh, first of all, I feel immediately at ease. She and I completely hit it off. And we decide they did something extremely chill and I think very, very French. So I think you'll also find this quite interesting. But we decided not to go out. We decided just to stay in and have munchies and a very, very low key dinner. So they had put together a cheese platter, just a few munchies, and we also had some quiche, and we opened a bottle of champagne. There was wine. The men had some whiskey, and we just spent time connecting. She works actually in the cheese industry, so we spent a lot of time discussing the cheese. And then I felt that I was a little uneasy because I was like, okay, do I dare propose? We wanted to play a game. My husband and I, we love games. We love card games. We love just some different kinds of games. And there's a game that we got for Christmas called Code Names that we are currently obsessed with. And so I was a little nervous because, again, we don't know these people very well, but I said, do you want to play? And so we ended up playing. They'd already played once or twice in the past. We ended up playing this game for hours. And we went to bed. I usually go to bed at 10 or 10:30. We went to bed, I don't know, it was like 12:30 or close to 1 a.m. We had the best time laughing and playing this game. And so I had a fantastic evening. And what was interesting is that, so, I mean, we drank a little bit and we had munchies, but the whole evening was not about the food. The evening was about connecting with new friends. And so Saturday morning rolls around and we had planned on going out to lunch, and so I didn't want to eat breakfast. We'd eaten some munchies the night before and I knew that lunch was going to be quite big, and so I skipped breakfast even though that there was a lot of great bread available, some homemade jams. Things were very, very tempting, but I didn't help myself. I said, no, I'm going to wait until lunch. And again, we are going out to lunch. We don't know each other that well. So, you're thinking about, okay, how are we going to split the bill? Or are we going to have the same types of tastes in terms of restaurants? Are we online for like the same budget? Do we like the same things? So there could have been a lot of anxiety going on in my mind. But we ended up choosing a restaurant that everybody loved, and I ended up having an appetizer and a main dish. I said no to dessert, and I did have a glass of wine. We spent the afternoon walking around. So we walked up and down the coast. They live near the ocean. 90 minutes we walked and just connected and spent time together, getting to know each other. And it was so crazy how much we had in common. And not only she and I, but also our husbands. They love, for example, motorcycles. That was a big topic. So, and that was just one of the topics, but we were on the same wavelength for everything. But still, keep in mind, we don't know each other that well. Okay. So we're just discovering kind of, each other around this weekend. And so on Saturday evening, again, we had a very chill evening. We ended up playing a board game again. Um, I went to bed early. I was a little tired after that day. She went to bed early, and our husbands ended up staying up late, also sampling the whiskey. And then Sunday was pretty similar. We fasted, we went for a walk in the morning, and then had a very chill lunch. Now, um, the reason why I wanted to tell this story is that as I look back, okay, we didn't know each other that well. And I could have had a lot of social anxiety, when it comes to are we actually going to get along? Are we going to have things to say to each other? Are we going to find some common ground? Are our husbands going to get along? It's possibly they would have hated each other. I don't know. Um, when you're also like, we stayed at their house, also living under the same roof. Are you kind of getting tired of each other? Do you need your own space? Um, do they have expectations? Do we have expectations? Like, there was a lot of things around going and spending the weekend with people we don't know that could have caused a lot of social anxiety. And what was beautiful about this weekend is that um, we connected on just so many different levels. I mean, it was that amazing. And I'm calling this my after. And what I mean by the after is that before, okay, so this for 30 years, I was completely obsessed with food. I would think about food. I would plan my day around food. If I would walk by a bakery, I would, white knuckle it not to buy something, or I would buy it, tell myself I would eat it later, but eat it anyway. I was obsessing about when I was going to exercise. I was obsessing about, okay, I was going out to lunch. Do I do wine, bread, and dessert? Do I have only wine? Can I have wine with dinner? And I used to have those thoughts for about 30 years. My life revolved around food and exercise. And all of that mind drama is now completely gone. This weekend, and I think that is so beautiful. And one of the reasons I love so much about France is that during this weekend, we were interested in each other. I asked questions. We learned about how, each of us had met our husbands. We learned about our past jobs, about our past lives, about our personal struggles, about books we like, about countries we traveled to. And the connection was so strong and it was such a beautiful thing to be living. And I wasn't in my head thinking about when are we going to eat? Are we going to have enough food? What is she going to have? What do I have to bring? What if they don't like it? What if they don't like me? And it was just a perfect example of France. Honestly, connecting with people on a deep level. And if I had, when I thought about this, and I was thinking back to what I'm also calling my before, okay? Because I've lost my weight. It's been about 5 years and I've kept my weight off. Okay. I've gone through menopause and my weight just hasn't come back on. And so I wanted to tell you what it would have looked like, or some of the reasons, or some of the ways that the weekend could have been different if I was thinking about what my life was like before. Okay. So I may have said yes, and I may have gone and obviously met these people for the weekend, but I would have had a lot of social anxiety. And so I would be overeating. I would have probably ate something before we got there. I probably would have eaten all the munchies. I probably would have had a lot to drink. Um, the next morning, Saturday morning, I might have been a little nervous about what we were going to do that day or how we were going to split the bill at lunch. And I probably would have overeaten at breakfast because there was great bread and jam. If we had been at the restaurant, um, it ended up, my husband was the one who chose the restaurant. I could have been obsessing about, do they like it? Do they not like it? Is this their style? What are we going to do about the bill? And all of that mind drama, I would have overeaten. I would have probably eaten the whole bread basket. I would have had a before lunch drink. I would have, had a couple glasses of wine. I would have had an appetizer, main dish, and dessert. Um, in the afternoon, when we were walking around, I could have been thinking also about, okay, am I going to be able to find something for a snack? It was just all of that mind drama. That's how my life used to be. And what is beautiful now is that all of that mind drama is completely gone. And I didn't even realize it because it just hit me this past weekend. That's who I have become. I'm completely cured of all of the mind drama and all of the food obsession around my weight and around, trying to buffer away my emotions. I was so present with my friend and her husband. It allowed me to ask questions. I listened deeply. I was okay when there were moments of silence, and I was just so utterly grateful. When I look back, I was thinking about this morning, I'm so utterly grateful to myself. First of all, for not giving up over these years. It took me 30 years, I think, to probably cure that disordered eating or that disordered relationship that I had with food. But I never gave up that. Number one, I was going to hit my weight goal, okay, which I did, which I'm at, which I haven't gained back in 5 years. I'm so grateful for believing in myself, for trusting in myself, for taking action even when I wasn't sure what the final result was going to be. Secondly, I'm so grateful for my past and everything I did live through because it's also part of who I am today. And I'm also so, so grateful for all of the coaches that I have had and that I have worked with over the years. And whether that be a running coach, whether that be a weight loss coach, whether that be a mindset coach, a business coach, but each of the coaching experiences that I have had working with a one on one coach have allowed me to get to where I am today and live a beautiful experience like I lived this past weekend. And that's why also it's exactly what I offer my clients today. And it is the top reason why I coach. I want women to stop obsessing about food. I want women to stop thinking about their weight all the time. I want women to stop being scared that the weight will come back. It is 100% possible to lose and to keep it off. And I think that most of the women that I work with today, a lot of the people know how. There's so many different ways that you can lose weight nowadays. But for me and the women I work with, the missing piece of the puzzle is learning to manage your mind and learning to work through those feelings of discomfort or social anxiety or feelings of self-worth. And 30 years of struggling, I've now learned, what life can be like on the other side. So I'm living my after story. It allowed me to experience the most beautiful weekend, and it's what I bring to my clients. If you would love to work with me, I would love to work with you. I love working with women who are fully invested, who want to find a sustainable solution and stop the mind drama, because life is meant to be lived, and living life in France is amazing. And no matter where you are listening to this podcast, living life where you are is also 100% available to you. Thank you for listening, and we will tune in soon. Take care, everyone.